This is Joe,
Michelle,
Melissa,
and Shannon
with More Than a Sniff, where we talk about everything dog.
from training to nutrition,
from behavior modification to grooming.
from vet visits to dog parks.
From getting to know us to having guests. Today we're going to talk about the sporting group today. And I would say probably if I had to say one thing about the sporting group is the hardest thing to get is your recall.
Do you feel like that with all of them? Because we never even had to call our labs back because labs are labs. We never had to teach them a recall because they just stuck with you. That being said, I grew up with sporting dogs.
Yeah.
So what I would like to say about sporting dogs is actually this is a group that I go to a lot when people ask me what they should get, because I think for the general part, if you are willing to put in the exercise requirement, these dogs are great family dogs for most people.
Yep.
Like they really, out of all of the other breeds, like you don't have the weird temperaments crap you deal with, like terriers and stuff like that.
Yep.
And so I grew up with, we've had labs my whole life. I grew up with a Brittany Spaniel who was always gone. Mm-hmm. He was if he could get out, he was gone.
Yep.
And then we grew up with a pointer who was fantastic until you took him camping and then he was gone.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of a interesting, because some of them I really don't feel that way. Like I feel like you just don't need to teach them a recall because your retrievers aren't going to go anywhere.
Well, yeah, that's because
until
they're
they have to go
retrievers.
retrieve something. Right.
Yep.
Exactly. That's
Yep.
it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think in general, they're all hunters.
Right.
And so, you're gonna have more runners than not runners in general in this group.
I think the hound group is probably the worst for that, but
Yeah, for
This
sure.
would be-
I guess I should rephrase this. I think that this group has such a big bubble that it makes
Right.
people uncomfortable
that is true.
that they don't have the recall
That's true.
because they all come back. They really do all come back.
Oh, even our pointer, the one that would,
Yeah.
and I was really little when we had him. The only thing I actually remember about that dog was him and our Dalmatian pointer used to fight and literally try to kill each other. That's
Yeah.
the only. But my parents complain all the time about that pointer, and we'd go to the mountains and he would be gone for hours.
Yeah.
But he'd always come back.
Yeah. I through my dog training career decided I was going to learn how to train the gun dogs, the sporting group, and there's a lot of work that's put into the gun dog world, a lot, and so much time. And so, I gave it 110% and was in it, and to the point that I learned how to shoot, and I, joined the Women of the Outdoors and was a part of that whole group. And then the big kind of graduation for me was that we were going hunting in South Dakota, pheasant hunting. And so the Women of the Outdoors, I really wasn't a hunter. I loved the training part of it for the dogs. And so they would call me all the time because I had the dogs, and we would go and I would work the dogs and they would hunt. And so we were hunting these birds, and I can't even tell you what they were, but they were up in the mountains. I can't remember. And so we're up in the mountains with the pointers, and a couple of us had them, and I hadn't really worked him in the mountains much. It's really all upland, birds that you're hunting, pheasant and that stuff. So you're not really up in the mountains, and they really wanted, a combination of the labs and the pointers, and so, and he was doing really well, and he was pointing, and they. The birds, obviously, in the mountains, they're up in the trees. But the dogs actually scare them from below, or you can shoot them out of the tree, and blah, blah, blah. And it was going really well, and we were probably about 5 hours into the day, and we had about an hour left before we were going to come off the mountain, and along came deer, and my pointer was gone, like ran through his e-collar, gone, and we were getting close to the sun going down and just had to get off the mountains. And everybody was pretty worried about, are you going to go find him? Do you want to stay up on the mountain? And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And it's way too dangerous to be up here. We're not even on trails. We're just trudging through the mountains. And I said, it's just not safe. And if he's not, if he hasn't met me at the truck, by the time we get off the mountain, I'll come back tomorrow. And, sure enough, he was at the truck when we got off the mountain and completely exhausted. But they're really good that way where they really do come back. I had another situation with my pointer and a German Shepherd puppy where they had gotten out. The gate was open and they had gotten out, and they probably went, maybe 2 miles. And I say that because the shepherd got stuck and disoriented and he didn't find his way home. But I opened the door and the pointer was at the back door. And he found his way back home, and then we had to go looking for the shepherd, and we found the shepherd about 2 miles away, stuck in a yard. The gate was open. He just couldn't figure out how to get out of the yard. And so, they do come back. And I think because their bubbles are so big, it's nothing to them. Like, they're really comfortable being a mile away from you. But they come back. But to get them pulled off of, even calling a lab off of a retrieve is really difficult, because that's what they were bred to do. To call these dogs off of the birds it's really difficult, because that's just genetically what they were bred to do. And so that's where my recall comes into play, is that one, their bubble is so big, and two, they're so genetically bred to hunt that calling them off is very difficult.
I guess maybe that's why it was not a big deal when I was a kid, because my dad did hunt with them.
Yeah.
So he was used to that bubble. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, to me, and we used to, thinking about all of this, like, we had a Cocker Spaniel mix when I was young, and she used to go horseback riding with us when we went trail riding. And most of the time she was back at the trailer because she was just done. She was tired.
Yeah.
And she'd just disappear, and we'd be like, well, where'd Lady go?
Yeah.
She'd always be sitting under the horse trailer sleeping.
Right.
Always.
Right.
So
yeah.
She knew where we were more than we knew where she was.
Yeah,
So.
Exactly. And I think that's scary in a suburbia situation.
Oh, I think about it now. When we would go camping with that dog, she would be out, and she weighed maybe 20 pounds. She would be out all night hunting, like rodents.
Yeah.
And you'd hear her all night. But I think about that, like, we went camping this last weekend. That would terrify me if one of my dogs were out all night with, like, it would scare me so bad.
Yeah.
Like, that something was going to eat them, or they were going to eat something they shouldn't, or
right.
There's no way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she loved it.
Yeah. It's definitely a crazy group. But I have to agree, Michelle, as far as going to family dogs, it's definitely a group that is really generically good for family dogs. I love the Spinonis. I love the Griffons, the Sussex Spaniels, super fun. It's just the Gordon Setters they're really, in general, you have to do your training with them, but they're in general really good family dogs.
Even our labs, like, they were, we never taught them what we think of training. My dad taught them, like, hunting type training, but there was no way any of those dogs were ever going to walk on a leash. That was not going to happen.
Right.
But I really feel like it's a group that if you have the time to at least walk them or throw a ball for them, like most labs, they're fine just going out and throwing, like, a ball for a half an hour.
Yep.
And then hanging out with you. They are hyper. They're a hyper group of dogs.
Oh, sure.
Because they are bred to be hunting all day long.
Yep.
But
yeah. Melissa, what's your overall experience with the group?
So after we had the Shar-Peis, we then got labs. Mm-hmm. So kind of a big shift.
Yeah, big time.
But my dad would go duck hunting, and so we always had at least 2 labs at home. Mm-hmm. And I always just thinking about those labs, how different they were during hunting season. Mm-hmm. They were so calm. They just wanted to sleep. And then off season, they were just obsessive with fetch.
Sure.
Just obsessive. And so when I think of this breed, I think intense purpose that can become obsessive. Mm-hmm. So when you see the dogs that just need a ball in their mouth, need to bring you the ball, can't stop playing fetch, that's their hunting. They need that purpose. Mm-hmm. So they're great family dogs, but you still need to do something.
Yeah.
They're not just going to sit out in your yard and do nothing all day.
Right.
And I think a lot of people think, oh, they're happy doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they still, and a lot of people think labs are kind of derpy, or they have,
they need
in their
to
own
work.
way, their purpose.
Yeah.
And I've been working with a couple labs hiking Albrings pheasant scent, and they track it.
Yeah.
And so when we're out going along, I'll tell them to stay, and then I'll go hide the bird, and they have to go find it. And just seeing how, that shift of, I need to go get the bird. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And they're more tired at the end of the walk.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Shannon, what's your feeling of this group?
I think this goes back to what we've talked on some of our other podcasts about. These dogs were bred for a purpose, but we understand better what it is, or we can connect it to our lives that we have now better than some of the other groups. For example, we have balls in our yard, and we can throw balls for our dog, but we don't have a giant cart for our Greater Swiss Mountain Dog to pull all around our yard, right? And so that, I think, lends them to fit into the family better. They're bred to work with you, to find the birds and be quiet and flush the birds when you say. So they're not like a hound that's is to run away into the forest until it finds something and bark at you until you come and find them, right? So they have these things that are part of their job, but makes it be better for a family because they're bred to be quiet and find the birds and flush them and get the birds and bring them back to you, So there's be quiet, come back, and chase a ball when we're not catching a bird is already things that are easier for them to fit in your family than some of the other breeds of dogs that we've talked about.
I don't know how much I've talked about this on the podcast, but my husband he is much more social than I am. And so our Cavalier, especially this past weekend going camping, we've realized how old she's getting, and it's really sad. But this is the group that I've been looking at to I don't want to say replace her. That's a really terrible word, but for another dog for him, this is the group that I've really been focusing on. Yeah. And I have no idea in this group what that's going to be for us because we're active people, but we're not insanely active. And that's the hard piece I'm having with it.
Yep.
Is that I actually really love my herding dogs, that I can take them out once a week and they're exhausted the rest of the week. Like that, I can start to tell by the end of the week, they're ready to go back out and do it again. But these dogs, they really do need that physical part every single day. Most of them do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hard requirement. And I think that's why they make good family dogs, though, because if your kids are willing to go out and play with them, it's fantastic, right?
Right.
But this is the group that I'm actually looking in for him. I have not figured out what that's going to be yet, but
I think you should get him a Spinoni.
I thought about a Spinoni. He loved Loki. Loved him so much.
Yeah.
I really loved our Brittany growing up, but I've met some really nasty Brittany's, so that's kind of my only.
I won't let you get a Brittany. The Clumber Spaniels are pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't really care the way they look, though. I would even consider getting him a retriever. Growing up with labs and stuff like that. My only problem with them is the health reasons. That's my biggest thing with them. So, it's kind of something that I really love the way that, the German short hairs look and stuff like that, that scruffy look. And I think I think that's why he liked the Spinonis as well.
Yeah. But the Griffons are good too. They're
that was the other one I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
That scruffy, wire-haired looking type of dog. So,
yeah.
And I think that's a good point to make with these dogs is for the most part, they are fairly social with everybody and everything.
Yeah. Really, they are.
Yeah. I mean, I've met some dog aggressive ones, but very rarely. You're almost like, what is wrong with you?
Right. Right. Yeah.
And usually it has to do with oh, you took my toy, or you know what I mean? It's not just general aggression. So
yeah, for sure.
I think this was a group that he would be happy with. So if you're social and you want that outgoing, almost obnoxious in everybody's face dog,
right.
This is a really good group to look into.
It's true. And again, I think you have to get the right personality for your family, no matter what group that you're looking at. Just because it's a good family dog group doesn't mean that you just go grab one. So definitely training, definitely creating purpose. And
I think this is probably one of the funner groups to train. It's just generally fun.
I agree.
You can do any of the sporting things with them they'd all do it.
Yep.
So
yep, yeah. I agree. So I think that sums up our sporting crew. They're just overall just a good group.